Now my nose is itching. Okay, edit that part out.
I was at home. I actually had an ankle injury and I was laying on the couch, and the rain was a really good excuse for me to get a little bit of rest for a change. And I just kept watching the news, and I decided to get up and look outside my window and noticed that I had about 2 feet of water floating along the side of our house and down our driveway into my backyard. And that's when I realized we had a problem.
Alan sent an email on Sunday night saying that he wanted to pump out some basements on Monday, and if anybody was available he would be coordinating that, and I emailed him back and told him I was happy to help. About 45 seconds after I posted my email, I had a response from 2 people, and the first one was Catherine. And he bait and switched me and told me to come in and answer some phones for him at the art house while he pumped out basements. So I thought on Monday that I was going to be telling people as they came to volunteer what basements to go pump out. Didn't realize that we'd be coordinating a much bigger effort than that.
Monday was really weird because we didn't know what laid ahead, and we were just kind of figuring out what the extent of the damage was on Monday. And I started going out to different places, Moss Rose and Barclay, and assessing, and I had no clue what was going on. And the families that lived down in Barclay as the water was rising were standing there in shock. I mean, literally, they were grilling, they were doing things that just were not very typical of what you would think in a situation like that. The river came up really slow, and so it really was kind of hypnotic in a sense. You're like going, well, is it going to keep coming or is it going to stop? And so the first day, basically what I did was I kind of worked with those families to make a decision. Do you get your stuff out of your house to higher ground, or do you just leave it?
The beginning of the day was trying to find pumps and figuring out who had them and putting out calls on the listserv to see what pumps were available in the neighborhood, and folks driving around town to pick up what was available at the local hardware stores, that kind of stuff. As the day went on, we had a volunteer team that went down to Moss Rose Drive and called back pretty quickly to say that they needed experienced boaters, kayakers and people with canoes, and then called back again to say don't send anybody down unless they really know what they're doing because the waters are rushing too quickly. And it wasn't until Wednesday, when the river started really receding, that the heaviest lifting of the volunteer project really kicked in.
You know, we had all 4 or 5 phones running the whole time, and for the first 3 days those phone calls were nonstop. It was impossible to keep our mailboxes empty.
Like pennies from heaven. I mean, we would put out calls on the East Nashville listserv and on people's Facebook pages and say, we need people and we're going to be down there tomorrow morning, and if you're available, come. And they just kept coming. They literally were in, they might have stood around for 10-15 minutes, and then they were out the door and they were in somebody's front yard within 30-45 minutes working. So Monday morning we had 30 volunteers around there. On Tuesday we had a little bit closer to 50, between 50 and 70 I guess on Tuesday. On Wednesday we had 120. On Thursday we had over 200. On Friday we had over 250. On Saturday and Sunday combined we had 973 volunteers through the garden. It was like this wonderful snowball of people doing the right thing. We had people that were calling their pastors, their counselors, their friends that were counselors, universities, and going, do you have any people that can come and do counseling? And that was a huge issue that we had found that we needed throughout this, was the need for counselors, and trying to get some of these people that were dealing with shock. And whatever we asked for, people just brought. If it was more people came. If we said we needed more supplies, those supplies came. If we needed bleach, the bleach came. We needed a translator, the translator came. It was however random the request was, however obscure, we put it out on the listserv, and then within the hour it would just show up. Okay, put it to work. I was surprised at how many volunteers came back and said, thank you so much for making this opportunity available. There's no opportunity, right? The rain just came and people showed up to do the work, but it wasn't it wasn't like this feel-good effort that we went out and tried to connect people with, you know, some bigger life-changing experience. I think they just were out doing the right thing for the right reason, and it felt good enough that you wanted to keep doing it.